The hunt. It's a feeling every car enthusiast knows. The endless scrolling through classified ads, the thrill that courses through your veins when you spot it, that perfect premium car, a sleek sedan, a muscular SUV gleaming under the digital lights of a webpage, listed for a price that seems too good to be true. You see a badge that once commanded a fortune, now sitting at 50%, 60%, even 70% off its original sticker price. The thought immediately flashes through your mind. I've found the loophole. I've beaten the system. It's the ultimate fantasy, attaining luxury and performance for the price of a run-of-the-mill hatchback. But what if that bargain isn't a loophole? What if it's a trap, meticulously set by the cruel forces of depreciation and unreliability? The truth is, there's a dark, hidden side to the used car market, a blacklist of vehicles so notoriously problematic that the very people who make their living buying and selling cars, the seasoned dealers, won't even let them touch their forecourt. These aren't just cars, they're financial time bombs, ticking away, waiting for an unsuspecting buyer to turn the key. These are the vehicles plagued by catastrophic depreciation, haunted by persistent mechanical gremlins, and burdened by repair bills that can eclipse the car's entire value. They are the dealer's kryptonite, the forecourt poison, the cars that sit for months, collecting dust and costing money, until they are quietly sent to auction, passed on like a curse to someone else. Today, we're pulling back the curtain. We're arming you with the insider knowledge that protects your wallet and your sanity. We are counting down 7 of these automotive pariahs. The order might surprise you, but the stories behind their fall from grace will serve as a critical lesson. This isn't just a list, it's a survival guide for the modern used car buyer. Stick with us, because the information in this video could save you from making a multi-thousand-pound mistake. Car number 1, the Prestige Trap. Land Rover Discovery Sport, 2015 to 2019. Let's start with a name that evokes prestige, adventure, and quintessential British luxury, Land Rover. The dream SUV for the modern family. It ticked all the boxes, offering a premium brand without the colossal size of its larger siblings. But for used car dealerships, the mere mention of a Discovery Sport in trade-in is enough to send shivers down their spines. The reason can be attributed to a catastrophic and well-documented source of failure, the Ingenium engine. Both the petrol and diesel versions of this engine have become legendary for all the wrong reasons. They're notorious for a frightening triad of problems. Severe oil dilution, where fuel seeps into the engine oil, destroying its lubricating properties. Premature timing chain stretching, a failure that can lead to catastrophic engine damage, and frequent turbo failures. These are no small inconveniences. We're talking about complete engine replacements that are often necessary well before the vehicle reaches 160,000 kilometers. And the bill for such an operation? It can easily exceed 8,000 pounds. Now, consider this. You can find used Discovery Sport on the market for less than that price. The financial logic completely falls apart. You're potentially facing a repair bill that's higher than the total value of the car itself. It's the definition of financial madness. But the Ingenium nightmare is just the beginning of the ordeal. The Discovery Sport is also haunted by an army of electronic problems. The sophisticated infotainment screen, the centerpiece of its premium cabin, is notorious for freezing, crashing, or simply refusing to turn on. Imagine trying to navigate a complex city route when your map suddenly disappears into a black screen. The parking sensors develop a life of their own, beeping frantically into nothing or failing to detect an obstacle right behind you. The rotary gear selector is known for jamming, refusing to engage, and leaving drivers stranded. All of this is orchestrated by a symphony of random warning lights that illuminate the dashboard like a Christmas tree, often reappearing just days after an expensive visit to the repair shop. For a dealership, this car is a walking liability. They know that to make it sellable, they may have to invest thousands in pre-sale repairs. Car number 2, the Fallen King, Ford Mondeo Mark, for 2014 to 2022. For decades, it was more than a car. It was a British institution, the Ford Mondeo. It was the undisputed king of corporate parking lots, the reliable work vehicle of sales representatives, and the comfortable and spacious choice for families across the country. The term Mondeo man entered the vocabulary, representing the aspirational middle-class driver. But how the mighty have fallen. Fast forward to the present day, and the Ford Mondeo is a ghost, haunting the backs of used car dealerships. Dealerships can barely get rid of them. The first and most devastating blow didn't come from a mechanical failure, but from a seismic shift in public taste. The market moved on. Family sedans and station wagons, which were once the backbone of the industry, were completely overshadowed by the meteoric rise of SUVs. Buyers now crave the elevated driving position and rugged aesthetics of crossovers, making cars like the Mondeo seem like relics of a bygone era. This collapse in demand alone makes selling difficult, but the problems run much deeper, especially for the models dealerships see most often. High-mileage diesel cars returned from the fleet world. These cars were once the backbone of British businesses, but now they are a liability. They are plagued by a range of costly emissions-related problems. Clogged diesel particulate filters, DPFs, and faulty exhaust gas recirculation, EGR, valves are common, leading to poor performance and warning lights. Repairs can cost hundreds, if not thousands, of pounds. In addition, failures in the AdBlue system, critical for modern diesel emissions, are a frequent and expensive headache. And then there's the crushing weight of depreciation. A car that once represented a £25,000 to £30,000 investment for a company can now be found abandoned in the classifieds for less than £6,000. At first glance, it seems like an incredible bargain. But when a simple replacement of the diesel particulate filter, DPF, and EGR valve can cost a significant fraction of the car's value, the bargain disappears. Dealerships understand this grim math all too well. They know a cheap Mondeo is cheap for a reason. They need to offer very low trade-in prices because they anticipate low resale value and potential repair costs eroding their already tight profit margins. The Mondeo has gone from being the safest bet on the market to a dead end. Car number 3, the EV pioneer that time forgot, Nissan Leaf, first generation, 2011 to 2017. It was revolutionary. When the Nissan Leaf first arrived, it felt like the future had landed in our showrooms. It was the car that promised to bring all-electric motoring to the masses. It was affordable, practical for city life, and incredibly easy to drive. It quickly soared to the top of the sales charts, becoming the UK's best-selling electric vehicle and a symbol of a cleaner, greener automotive era. For a while, it seemed unstoppable. But on the used market today, the dream has soured into a nightmare. The early Nissan Leaf is now one of the most difficult cars for a dealer to sell. The problem is simple in concept, but utterly devastating in practice: battery degradation. Unlike modern EVs, which feature sophisticated liquid cooling and thermal management systems to protect their batteries, the early Leafs relied on a much cruder system: passive air cooling. This design choice proved to be its Achilles heel. The constant cycles of charging and discharging, combined with exposure to both hot and cold ambient temperatures and frequent rapid charging, took a brutal toll on the battery cells. They lost their capacity to hold a charge at an alarming rate. Many first-generation models, which originally offered a modest range of around 100 miles, are now struggling to deliver half of that. In some extreme cases, the real-world range can be as low as 40 or 50 miles, rendering the car almost unusable for anything other than short, local errands. And here is the financial nail in the coffin. Replacing the battery pack is prohibitively expensive. A brand new battery pack from Nissan can cost between £6,000 and £8,000. This is often more than the entire value of the used car itself. It's an economic non-starter. This reality effectively renders many older Leafs as worthless. They are bricked by their own failing technology. Dealers are acutely aware of this. They know that savvy buyers will check the car's battery health and walk away the second they see significant degradation. The only way to sell one is to price it at rock bottom, but even then, it's a huge gamble. For a dealer, a used Leaf isn't a forward-thinking asset. It's a depreciating liability with a built-in expiration date. It serves as a harsh lesson that being a pioneer doesn't guarantee longevity, especially when technology evolves at lightning speed. Car number 4, the unfulfilled promise, Jaguar XE 2015 to 2019. The Jaguar XE was launched with enormous expectations. This was the car designed to dethrone the BMW 3 Series and the Mercedes C-Class, firmly putting Jaguar back on the map in the crucial compact executive sedan segment. It had all the right ingredients: a stunning, feline-inspired design, a lightweight and technologically advanced aluminum chassis, and the promise of legendary Jaguar handling. For a brief moment, it really seemed that Coventry had built a world champion. However, the story told in dealership yards is one of bitter disappointment. Dealers across the country admit, in private, that they dread taking an XE as part of a trade-in. The first flaw in its armor was the interior. While the exterior was a masterpiece of design, the interior simply didn't live up to the premium price. Buyers, accustomed to the impeccably crafted interiors of its German rivals, were disappointed by areas of hard, rough plastics and an infotainment system that felt a generation behind in terms of speed and user interface. In a segment where perceived quality is paramount, these shortcomings were deciding factors for many. Then, reliability issues began to surface, further compounding the situation. The same infotainment systems that felt outdated were also prone to freezing, crashing, or spontaneously restarting mid-journey. A series of electrical problems triggered a seemingly endless cycle of warning lights on the dashboard. And the automatic transmissions, in some cases, could be jerky and hesitant, especially in congested traffic, undermining the car's luxury aspirations. While none of these problems were necessarily catastrophic on their own, their combined effect tarnished the XE's reputation, labeling it as more problematic than advantageous. This reputation, coupled with a market that wasn't entirely convinced, led to the dealer's biggest fear: brutal depreciation. An XE that once had a showroom price of £35,000 can now be found for less than £10,000 just a few years later. This financial collapse was accelerated by Jaguar's reliance on fleet sales. Leasing companies and corporate clients bought them in large numbers, and when those 3-year contracts expired, the market was suddenly saturated with identical used models. This huge oversupply means that dealers are stuck with cars that simply don't sell. They can sit in the yard for weeks, even months, with little or no interest. Car number 5, the fleet favorite turned forecourt pariah, Vauxhall Insignia, a 2008 to 2017. For almost a decade, the Vauxhall Insignia was the undisputed king of the fleet market. It was simply everywhere. With its modern and bold design, generous equipment levels, and a highly competitive price, it was the smart, sensible, and fiscally responsible choice for companies. But that same fleet darling status became its curse in the used car market. Today, dealerships detest it. The Insignia has transformed from a sales champion into unwanted inventory that gathers dust and depreciates every day. The core of the problem is a toxic combination of massive oversupply and collapsing demand. Because thousands and thousands have been registered as fleet cars, the used car market is perpetually flooded with them. Typically, these are ex-company diesel cars that have had a rough life on the highways, accumulating enormous mileage in a short period of time. Often, they come with irregular or minimal maintenance histories, maintained just enough to last the lease period. Modern buyers are aware of this. They know the history of these cars and actively avoid them, fearing they are buying someone else's worn-out tool. The inevitable result is a complete collapse in resale values. An Insignia that cost a company £25,000 to £30,000 new can now be bought for under £7,000. And even at this very low price, dealers report enormous difficulty in finding a buyer. In addition to the image problem, there are the mechanical problems. The popular 2 CDTI diesel engines are notorious for DPF clogging and EGR failures, as is the Mondeo. They are also known for timing belt problems, which can be expensive to replace. Gasoline models don't escape unscathed either, with oil leaks and turbo problems being common. Add to that a layer of fragile electronics, infotainment system glitches, faulty sensors, and a general susceptibility to electrical problems, and the Insignia's reputation is in tatters. For a dealership, accepting an Insignia as a trade-in is a big gamble. They need to price it so low to have any chance of making a profit. But even then, it could sit idle for months or require expensive preparation work, turning it into a loss. Car number 6, the heartbreaker from Milan, Alfa Romeo Giulia, 2016 to 2020. Some cars are bought with the head. This one is bought with the heart. The Alfa Romeo Giulia. At its debut, it was a breathtaking spectacle, pure and genuine Italian temptation on 4 wheels. With its elegant and muscular lines, iconic grille, and an interior that perfectly combined sportiness with premium comfort, it was an automotive work of art. Alfa Romeo presented it as the passionate and soulful alternative to the cold and clinical efficiency of its German rivals, such as the BMW 3 Series. But behind this dazzling and seductive veneer lies a brutal financial reality that makes dealerships run far away. The main reason why the Giulia is a nightmare for dealers is one of the most brutal depreciation rates in the entire automotive industry. A brand new Giulia that would cost between £35,000 and £40,000 may struggle to even fetch between £12,000 and £15,000 a few years later on the used car market. It doesn't just lose value, it depreciates dramatically. For a private buyer, this might seem like the bargain of a lifetime. For a dealer, it's a financial black hole. Margins are non-existent and value continues to plummet, meaning a car they buy today could be worth significantly less in just 1 month. And then there's the ghost that has haunted Alfa Romeo for decades: reliability. While the Giulia is light years away from the rust-prone Alphas of the 1980 seconds and 90 seconds, it hasn't completely exorcised its demons. Owners report a frustrating array of electrical problems. The infotainment system screen has been known to freeze or go completely blank. A constellation of random warning lights can appear for no apparent reason, often confusing even experienced mechanics. In addition to electronic problems, there are complaints about fragile interior trim parts that can break or vibrate, which detracts from the refined feel. In the UK, dealer support can be patchy, and obtaining specific parts from Italy can lead to long and frustrating waits, leaving the car stranded. For a dealership, a car that is difficult to sell and potentially difficult to repair is the worst possible combination. The cruel irony of the Giulia is that, on paper, it is everything a high-performance sedan should be. In reality, its catastrophic depreciation and persistent reliability issues have made it an outcast in the used car market. Car number 7, the outdated tech pioneer, Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV 2013 to 2018. When it first launched, it was nothing short of a phenomenon. The Mitsubishi Outlander PHEV plug-in hybrid electric vehicle was a game-changer. It promised the holy grail of motoring, the practicality and space of a large SUV, combined with the eco-friendly, low running cost efficiency of a plug-in hybrid. It was an instant smash hit, becoming the UK's best-selling plug-in vehicle for several years. Lured by generous company car tax breaks and the promise of whisper-quiet electric commuting, buyers flocked to Mitsubishi showrooms. For a while, dealers couldn't stock them fast enough. But time has not been kind to this former trailblazer. On the used market, the Outlander PHEV has aged terribly, and dealers now actively avoid it. The single biggest issue lies with its most important component, the battery pack. Early models, in particular, suffer from severe and noticeable degradation. The advertised electric-only range of around 30 miles has, in many real-world cases, dwindled to a barely usable 10 to 12 miles. Once the battery's capacity is this compromised, the entire premise of the car falls apart. The electric motor can offer little assistance, forcing the petrol engine to do all the work of hauling around a heavy SUV, plus the dead weight of a depleted battery and electric motor. As a result, the fuel economy collapses, often dropping to levels worse than a conventional petrol SUV. Owners are left with the absolute worst of both worlds: the high running costs of a large, heavy vehicle with almost none of the promised electric benefit. Compounding the problem is the staggering cost of repairs. If the battery pack fails entirely, a replacement is eye-wateringly expensive, often costing thousands of pounds, far more than the car is worth. Even smaller components unique to the hybrid system, like chargers, inverters, and control modules, can lead to monumental repair bills. Dealers know that today's buyers are armed with information. They read the owner forums, they watch the review videos, and they are terrified by the stories of plummeting range and huge repair costs. Depreciation has been absolutely savage. An SUV that once sold for £35,000 to £40,000 now sits in the classifieds for under £10,000. But even that low price isn't enough to tempt buyers who understand the risks. The Outlander PHEV serves as a stark reminder of how quickly cutting-edge technology can become an outdated, expensive-to-maintain liability. So there you have it, 7 cars, all with their own unique stories of promise and eventual failure on the used market. From the passionate but financially ruinous Alfa Romeo to the prestigious but mechanically fragile Land Rover, they all share one common, painful truth. A cheap price tag is often a clever disguise for an exorbitant cost of ownership. These are the cars that dealers, the experts who live and breathe this market every single day, have learned to avoid for their own financial survival. They know the risks, they know the repair costs, and they know the heartbreak. And now, you know it too. But this is where our community comes in. Have you ever owned one of these cars? Were you one of the lucky ones who had a flawless experience? Or did your ownership story turn into a financial nightmare that bled your wallet dry? Your experience is incredibly valuable. Drop your story in the comments below. It isn't just a comment, it's a beacon, a warning flare that could save a fellow member of our community from making a devastating mistake and losing thousands. Let's help each other navigate this treacherous market. If this video has opened your eyes and armed you with the knowledge to make a smarter purchase, then do us a huge favor and smash that like button. It tells us we're making the content you want to see. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe and ring that notification bell. By doing so, you're not just getting more no-nonsense car advice every single week, you're joining a community dedicated to protecting each other from the pitfalls of the automotive world. Finally, think about that friend or family member who is currently hunting for a cheap luxury or family car. Share this video with them. It could be the single most important piece of car advice they ever receive. Because when you're navigating the minefield of the used car market, knowledge isn't just power, it's your armor. Thank you for watching. Drive safe, and more importantly, buy smart.